We'll get into buy low, sell high now. I'll let you go first again. As this goes every week, we'll each give one guy for buy low, one guy for sell high, and then we'll get into some free agent ads, and then we will get out of here for the week. So Steve, who is your buy low?
So this pains me to say because I'm a Cardinals fan, but my buy low is Anthony Rizzo of the Chicago Cubs, and for a number of reasons. The first reason is first baseman has been a wasteland this year in fantasy. We knew it was going to be kind of lower going into the season, but it's been pretty bad. A lot of the stars are struggling, and it's not deep at all. Like one of the guys I'm going to talk about in my waiver wire pickups, he's the number 4 first baseman, and I bet half baseball fans haven't even heard of him. But Anthony Rizzo, popular name, but he's kind of struggled. He struggled badly last year, and he struggled at the start of this year, and the Cubs offense was absolutely dreadful. The first 13 games this year, I think they averaged 2.6 runs a game, which was easily the worst in baseball. And Rizzo was a large part of that. He's batting terribly, but a lot of it was bad luck, and I kind of expect to see regression go the other way with Rizzo. He's right now he's batting 246, so he's picking up a little bit. He's got 3 home runs, 2 steals, only 5 RBIs. So the counting stats really haven't been there, which kind of hurts his value a little bit. But that's good if you want to buy low on somebody. You want the counting stats low because when the Cubs offense gets better, those are going to go up. And the Cubs offense, 36 runs in their last 4 games, 9 runs a game, a little better than the 2.6 in the first 13.
Yeah.
But Rizzo's a guy that I think still has something to give. And his fly ball rate is up. His BABIP is 50 points lower than Major League average. And what BABIP is, it's batting average of balls hit and play. So basically, what that's saying is Rizzo's just gotten unlucky on the balls hitting the plate. His hard hit rate is up from last year and above Major League average. And his last 7 games, he's batting 400, and he has both his home runs in that game. I think Rizzo's hitting the ball well. The Cubs offense is getting better, but the year-long numbers don't really show that he's having a good year. I think he turns it around pretty quickly, and I think right now is a good time to go in and get him for you really wouldn't have to give up too much because a lot of people that have Rizzo this year probably know what Rizzo did last year, and they're just kind of tired of him underperforming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely with you on Anthony Rizzo. He was someone that I almost drafted this past year, and I was kind of worried about some regression. And he's someone that I don't know why. And this is just one of those instincts that paid off. I thought he might start a little slow. Every year there are veteran players who are usually consistent that get behind the curve. And it's usually hitters are ahead of the curve of pitchers at the beginning of the year. Sometimes for whatever reason, there are people who, start at an all-time low basically at the beginning of the year. Someone that I'm going to bring up for my buy low is basically kind of in the same boat, a name brand, not off to the best start. And that might be the only reason it's hard to buy low on these guys is because it is a name brand. Also, my guy, he does already have 3 homers this year. It's Freddie Freeman. His batting average, 222, but his expected batting average is 5th highest in the MLB. And I would understand why the 3 home runs might make it difficult for someone to sell off on Freddie Freeman. Like, it's hard to find someone with just such the high average exit velocity, max exit velocity. He's up there in hard hit rate percentage in the MLB too. Like, all the underlying numbers are there. He just can't get on base consistent enough. So this is more one of those, you have to play your league and see what his owner needs. If his owner is losing batting average every single week, you want to go swing for Freddie Freeman. If his owner has a ridiculously high batting average, he's not going to want to give him up. So, both kind of same with Anthony Rizzo. You kind of got to play the league and play, you have to know the owners of the teams in your league too. But as far as Freddie Freeman goes, he's been doing what he's been doing this year, without without Ozzie Albies, who might be hurt. He took Ozzie Albies' spot at 2, and he's been struggling all year. So if Albies gets healthy, the prospects of having a healthy Albies and a healthy Freeman in the same lineup at the same time, we've seen what that can be before. And so I'm just buying in on the ceiling of the potential of those two getting back together. But Freeman is more of a risk, I would say, based on his batting average this year.
I would also say, too, you probably have to give up a little more for Freeman than you would for Rizzo, just because Freeman has the potential to be the top-rated first baseman and really give you, top two-round potential stats. But Freeman's a guy, I mean, I love the Braves offense. Acuna's coming back this weekend. And if you're batting behind Acuna, there's a lot of RBI opportunities.
Yeah. No, I can't believe I forgot to say Acuna was coming back. Thank you for saying that. Then we'll go into sell high here. I just did this unironically. That's fucking hilarious. My sell high is going to be, I keep doing it now that I'm thinking about it, is someone who is probably one of the most famous names in baseball just because of what he did in the playoffs last year. But he's followed it up pretty well, but not to the extent to justify his ADP that he was drafted at, and that's Randy Arozarena. Like I said, extraordinarily memorable playoff surge. It was ridiculous what he did last year. And
he hit a home run almost every game.
Almost every game. And, people thought that he might be able to be one of those 2020 guys this year. It's not. It could be there. It looks like it could be. His batting, his average is 246, which isn't great. But, his underlying numbers are really good. And, I feel like he's hit his peak from last year where you might be able to convince someone to sell high. It really, the point of bringing Arozarena up is you got to make good use of the assets that you have. Forget about the pick that you spent on him. If you don't think he's living up to that, there's someone who's going to see that he's on your team and you want to give him up. And they're going to be like, oh, it's Arozarena. Do you remember what he did last year? Like, again, it's easy to sell high on the name brands, even when they're performing at an average to slightly above average level. And so that's why I was happy I didn't end up drafting him in any league this year.
Yeah, I didn't take him in any either, just because I think you're right. His draft position was inflated by what he did in the postseason. That always kind of scares me a little bit because it's such a small sample size.
Exactly.
But that's one of my biggest tips for fantasy baseball, too. Once we get about a month into the season, just forget about ADP. Forget where you took these guys. If they're not performing to the level you expect, get rid of them. And I think to your point, there could be someone who recognizes the name, Randy Arozarena, recognizes what he does and goes, hey, there might be potential there. And they could pay more than what you even expect to get from him. So I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, and I was wrong about his batting average. I don't know how I had it wrong, but I said it was 246. It's 279, which is much better, to be completely honest. It could be difficult to get someone to buy into his high strikeout total. It's up to 24, and he's only walked 4 times. But at the same time, I think that, that 279 batting average is probably the peak for him. And for someone who's struggling in that category, might be willing to send you a decent pitcher, a decent reliever, which, as we've seen with all the injuries, it's good to have as many relief pitchers as you can in the MLB right now, especially if you're a Julian Merriweather guy like I and Jordan Romano. And now I'm not going to do Rafael Delis because that just sounds depressing. So who's your sell high? And then we'll get into some guys to buy on the free agent market.
So my sell high is someone whose stats look pretty good, but it's get what you can for him now, because I think in a month people are just going to render this guy useless. And that's Tyler Naquin of the Cincinnati Reds.
In the first episode, he was a free agent ad recommendation. That's how fast things move in fantasy baseball.
Well, and that's the thing too. He wasn't a bad free agent, pickup. That wasn't bad at all. He's been great so far. Yeah. It's just he's batting 260, 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, and slugging 640. That's a great season if you keep up that pace all year long. I just don't think he'll sustain that. And that's one of my biggest reasons for sell highs is trade away the guys whose stats look good but are kind of deceptive. Tyler Naquin, he's the 4th outfielder in Cincinnati. It doesn't matter how he's performing, but since Jesse Winker's been back, he's been playing almost every day. The Reds still want to get Nick Senzel regular at-bats because he was, a top prospect at one point. They want to get him the at-bats. And they have Nick Castellanos, who just came back from a suspension today. I believe he hit a home run. So there you go, Rob Manfred. Suck on that. But the Reds have, 3 solid outfielders. Naquin's fourth. He's kind of the odd man out. There's no DH in the NL. Once again, thank you, Rob Manfred. But Naquin's a guy, his stats look pretty good. He's just not playing that much anymore. He's sat out 4 of the last 9 games, and although the year-long stats look good, he's not going to keep that pace up. He's probably someone who's going to eventually be dropped anyways. So if you could just get, an okay starting pitcher for him, a guy who can give you, a few quality starts here and there, or maybe, a bench bat that has potential to be something more, that's what I'm selling Naquin at. I know sell high, everyone thinks, oh, sell high, take a guy and try to get, a first-round talent for him. That's not realistic, especially if you're in leagues with owners that know what they're doing. So try to trade a guy whose stats, they look pretty good on paper, but you kind of know that a downfall is coming. And Tyler Naquin is a guy who I think, it's just he's not playing enough, and the Reds really have kind of made it known that they want to keep Senzel in the lineup. They really want to try to see if he can develop. And Castellanos and Jesse Winker have been, looking like everyday players. So I think Naquin's a good guy to try to, get what you can for him now before it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love fantasy baseball, because if you hit on some of these guys who are good free agent ads, you can just keep spinning assets and just keep adding like actually valuable pieces to your team. It's